All right, we are going to deal with the lesson 36, but before lesson 36, we are going to finish lesson 35, the exercise, so that we can somehow have a time for review. All right. Actually, lesson 35 is the last lesson about hip field stem. So in lesson 36, we are going to deal with peer stem. So if you remember everything about hip field stem, then it's very successful. Again, I highlight that hip field stem is one of the most difficult lessons in Hebrew 2. So Hifil and Nifal. And when it comes to others, then that's just okay. It's quite normal. So if you feel like, oh yeah, Hifil is it's not easy, but I can manage it, then that's really good, right? So then let's go back to lesson 35, the third slide to the last one. Okay. No, no. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. We are done with here. Am I right? Except this one. Okay, let's move on one by one. Okay, let's just start from here. Looking at this word, you can easily come up with this idea that, oh, the first one is not a letter, but verb conjunction. Then looking at this, it looks familiar because of your vocabulary. What root letters or what verb do you think you have here? What is that?
Involvement.
Sim? Okay, then how are you going to analyze it? What is your opinion? If you think this is a hello verb sim, then go to hello verb chart and just look at it. I told you before, actually, if you have the hello verb as identical as the lexicon form, then that's a little bit strange because normally for a fixed form, it will change the second root letter. I mean, normally it drops off the second root letter. And here, everything is there. Even hirek yod is appearing. So now, when is the case that we have the second root letters of the hello verbs? When? For what forms?
Imperative.
Imperative.
Imperative. If you are talking about imperative, then don't forget to include infinitive construct as well. So yeah, it's true. So sim is appearing as identical as the lexicon form, then it cannot be a 3MSG affix form. And you have to think about imperative and infinitive construct. So here we have two possibilities actually. So the first one is imperative and the second one is infinitive construct. And at the same time, verb conjunction is going to be the special feature. Okay, then we are done. Then let's talk about this. This one is a bit tricky because you will not be able to see this form in the Bible. Actually, but it's just testing us. Mm, what form and what word do you think we have here? Anything that you can recognize here? What can you recognize? Okay, here you go. Oath ending. What can you think about it? Oath ending. What possibilities do you have?
infinitive construct 썰 때,
All right, infinitive construct third here, and then
participle
Participle,
right,
SPL,
participle feminine plural.
plural.
Okay, and then even noun ending. If this one is a verb, then let's think about two possibilities here. So the first one is infinitive constructor the here, and then participle. So what is the secondary clue in this case? Dealing with the third here verb to identify which verb, which form we have here. We need to look at the first vowel point, which is what? Holem. And I know that some of you are not familiar with Holem planiform, but I think long time ago we had uh, a case like this before. In fact, the most expected vowel pointing is Holem, defectiva, but sometimes it comes in the form of Holem plane. So you can just consider it like Holem. In fact, like the Holland plane spelling can be replaced by defectiva uh, vowel pointing, like even hirek yod sometimes can rarely appear in the form of just the hirek, not hirek yod. So hirek yod is what is it, plane spelling, but it can be even seen in the form of defectiva, which means without yod, hirek. Even chere yod will be appearing like that. Even holem plane can be coming with without vav. So holem plane can be replaced by holem defectiva. Okay. So that is what is going on here actually. So we are going to come back to this one. But anyway, so in this case, this one is what then? Participle, and then the third he, la, a. Okay. And then ot ending must be feminine, plural, participle. And what about stem then? Stem? Okay, do you think this one is he feel? If this one is a he feel, then there must be something else. Very important thing.
맴.
Yeah, pre-formative mem should be there. So this one is kal, la, and participle feminine singular. What about this one? You might be confused. Okay, I know that you are going to talk about this hair, and we know that this one is Allah. So in terms of root letters, we're okay. But what about stem and form? What stem do you think we have and what form? In terms of the stem, then probably you will come across the idea of feel because of hair. Then the question is, why do we have kamets? If this one is a feel stem, then there is no reason for us to have kamets under the hair. Are you following me? Are you confused? Let's go to the verb chart. Let me for the, let's just go to the first root, first guttural part. Okay, if you have verb chart with you, let's go to page, where are you? First guttural. Yeah, first guttural, page 434. You have first guttural, and you're thinking about he film. So in case of a fixed form, it should be the preformative he and then segol. Okay, let's go down. The prefix form is not a not our consideration. Why? Because we don't have a prefix pronoun. So just ignore it. In case of imperative form, we are going to have, what is this? He and pata. And infinitive construct, even he, pata. Of course, participle form will take preformative mem. So even in case of the first guttural, we don't have any reason for us to have comments under the he. Is that clear? Are you following me? Then what possibility of the form do we have? How do you think? Anyone?
That be called um, participle, but like um, the comments under the head indicates that's a definite article.
Definite article.
Right, that's great. You got it. Yes, must be definite article. And then this whole lamb indicates participle. So it's understandable that participle can be attached to a definite article he. So that is the case. And then being a first guttural verb, it cannot take dagesh. So definite article he is he, pata, and then dagesh. So when the ayin cannot take dagesh, the pata should be compensated to be lengthened. So the pata became kamet. So in this case, this one is kai stem and then participle form together with definite article he. So now it is really testing us and then, putting everything together, actually. So there is a tendency that whenever we see the he, and we tend to take it as a preformative he, and that has something to do with he feels them. But this is the case when the idea doesn't work. So now, if you have preformative he or he in the beginning, then you need to think about two possibilities all the time. What are they? Actually, three possibilities. Number one, preformative he for he feels them. And number two, interrogative he as well. But in case of interrogative he, then the specific vowel point should be composite shua. So shua, and then pata. And this case, you need to also think about definite article he. Of course, if you think this is definite article he, then you need to make sure that the verb is appearing in the specific form of participle. Why? Because only participle can be attached to the form of participle. So there must be some clue. Okay. So in this case, we know. Okay. So this is Allah, Kal, participle, and what about PGN? Masculine, singular, and the special feature you need to put definite article he. So the translation will be like, a person doing this specific action. So the one going up. Who is going up? Who was going up? Something like that. Okay, right? Let's move on. All right. What about this one? Everything is quite straightforward. Okay. If you have men, praise the Lord, and always start from the form. What form do we have? Participle, right? Men, so far we can say men indicates participle form. And we have four possibilities of the stems. Hifil, Hofal, Piel, Pual. And looking at this Hirak Yod, what can you say? Must be Hifil stem. And then what is this for? One more time.
definite
Participle,
article.
definite article, hair.
네.
So you can see that, okay, then this dot is coming from definite article hair, and this dot is coming from assimilation. So first noon verb. So the root letters are nun and then
김멜,
기메 달래서 나gat.
나가드, 텔.
So nagat, and then as we just discussed, the stem is hifil and participle form. Special future should be definite article he. Okay, let's talk about this. We have mem. It's good. We know for sure this one should be participle form. And the question is, why do we have a pata? And what does this indicate? Pata.
히필
Still
participle.
participle.
If a participle. But there is something strange. What is it? This one is hifi participle.
No, hirek yod.
Yes, you're right. Hirek yod. It should be hirek yod. But we have only hirek. So this is the defective writing. So as I said, hirek yod sometimes can be replaced by just defective writing without yod. So in this case, just the hirek itself is the same with hirek yod. So you can just consider this one as defective writing. And at the same time, we can see the opposite case, which is taking place here. It's not really common, but it does happen in the Bible. So okay, let's finish this one, and we will go back to the first one. So now we don't have any problem here analyzing it as shama, kal, participle. Okay, so don't panic even if we don't have hirek yod. So as I said, this is a defective writing. Okay, and let's move on. What about this one? And actually, this one has something to do with today's lesson. So after learning a lot of things, you can be easily confused, even dealing with quite straightforward stuff, easy one. So what do you have here? Anything that you can easily recognize?
The duck is in the middle of the min.
Yes, you're right. And then
Verb conversive.
verb conversive. So prefix form. So everything is there. So when you're confused, just stick to the component that are really obvious, like prefix, what is dagesh put in the middle, then it should be PL stand, and the verb conversive and prefix pronoun, so it should be prefix form. So that's it. It's quite the basic form. And let's come back to this one. What kind of verb do we have? Of course, you can come up with the idea of hey, all right. So this one should be related to he feel. It seems like preformative hey. Okay, right? Do you think this one would be the same case like this? No, because even the first letter is not a cultural letter. So we don't have a specific reason for us to have comments. Okay, considering this as if we have preformative have for the Hebrew stem, and when can he have comments under the preformative have? And what about this? Do you think this one is okay? Think you have two possibilities in terms of root letters. You can think about yashab and then shub. Okay, so should be either first yod or halobah. If this one is first yod bab, then okay, it can come together with preformative hair in case of the Hebrew stem, but the vowel point is not comments. It should be what?
Holem.
Holem, right? Good. So the yod used to be holem, vav, long time ago. So the yod should be replaced by holem. Are you following me? So in the Hebrew stem, first yod vav, the yod vav normally is replaced by holem. So in this case, then okay, it cannot be yashab. It must be shub. So if you are aware of this, then it's not really difficult for us to recognize it. In fact, preformative hair together with comet is the indicator of what? What form?
Imperative or infinitive construct.
Yes, you're
Imperative
right.
or infinitive
Yeah,
construct.
infinitive
I was so happy to hear Pierce say E. Right? Okay, let's go to the verb chart again. Hello, Bob. Okay, let's go and making sure. If you are confused, it's always good for us to go back to the verb chart and review it. Let's go to, okay, first yod verb. He feel, as I said, should be coming together with the hair and the preformative hair and holem, as you can see. So that's why it cannot be first yod verb in the he feel. So it should be ho and mo and ho. So there is no reason for yashab to come with ha. And the second possibility was hello verb. So this is the way of how we can use our verb chart. So you cannot really look at the whole verb chart. So you need to have at least a couple of possibilities, and you need to go to the specific part and double check. Hello Bob, and then we think this one must be he feel. So in case of he feel, a fixed form, it appears with zere, so preformative he, and then composite shua for the second and first persons. Prefix form is not a consideration here because we don't have prefix pronoun. Now we have what? He and comments. So as you can see that imperative form 2MSG and infinitive construct can take what? He together with the comments. Then the question is, what we have is not the second. We need to go for the secondary clue, which is the vowel point. We have zere yod. So now you are confused. Oh, according to our verb chart, must be zere or hirek yod. And as an one more time, we have zere yod. Then what are you going to choose between these two? In this case, you are not going to prioritize the sound of yod. As I said, we do have a lot of defective writing. So zere yod can be simply zere without yod, and we call it defective writing. So in this case, it is the opposite side actually. In this case, we have just the zere yod, but you can consider it as zere because zere yod has S sound, and then zere has S sound as well. So in this case, this one must be shoe, and then he feels them, and what? Imperative form. So second masculine singular. What about then special feature? None, because he is not definite article. So but it is preformative he. So we don't normally consider or include preformative mem or he, those things in the special feature. So that's it. So we are done with this. And today's lesson is all about peer stem. It's a little bit tricky, but we can manage it easily as well. So let me go back to the verb chart. No, we will come back to the verb chart later. Let's just deal with the lesson first. Okay, gonna ask Sharon, would you read it?
예. 예. 키 아타 테바레크 짜비크 아도나이.
What is this? It's not, yeah, 짜디크 아도나이. Very good. Very good. Albert?
I ata ta debarek sa tik Adonai.
Okay, good job. Where can you find the verb? Albert? It's not that difficult. Okay, this is not a verb. Okay, Albert, what is this? Key? Unmute yourself, please.
Key 4.
For or because. Ata?
You
Is IPP. What about this?
the bar.
Dabar?
Yeah.
Dabar? Where is Dabar? It's a be, resh, kaf. So you can see that this one is prefix pronoun. And we have this one. And what about this? This is Adonai, the Lord. And what about this? Tzaddik. Are you familiar with this word? Tzaddik. Have you memorized this?
Righteous.
Yeah, righteous. It's adjective. It's adjective. So righteous. Righteous. Okay. So this one is a verb. And if you are confused about the what is it? The word, you can normally put kametz and pata. We have other group like yare, a group here for the second letter, but normally kametz pata will work. So barak, have you memorized the word barak? Okay,
Bless.
which means
Bless.
to bless. All right, so now we know this one. Let's just analyze it. Barak. What about?
Sorry, one question.
Yeah.
Okay, the word bless actually, if you use that as a verb, has two meanings. One means to praise, one means to give benediction. Which one is right here?
It depends on the context, but normally in Hebrew 1 and 2, you can go for blessing, the idea of blessing, to bless. Okay? Yeah, but if you have more than one meaning in a word, then you need to determine it actually based on the context. Okay, thank you for the question, Amos. Let's move on. So then Barak, and what about stem? How do you think? Okay, leave it empty. And what about form?
Prefix.
Yes, because of the prefix pronoun. So I told you prefix form is the easiest one to recognize. And what about then PGN? So there must be two possibilities, right?
Three
Yeah.
FSG,
3 FSG and 2
SG,
MSG.
2 MSG.
I'm so glad to see many people jumping into this discussion. Now, Hebrew scholars are on fire right now. This is a spirit that I saw in Hebrew 1. Come on, you can do it. You can restore the spirit. All right. Glad to see that. Let's move on. And what is it? What is the next one? Special TGN. And then special feature?
None.
None. Good. Meaning? It just depends on the evaluation or the analysis of the stem. It's good. Actually, I was expecting that you would, what is this, just to say cast them in a hurry. But you guys are so quiet. Why? Because you don't know it for sure. Because the word that you are dealing with is middle guttural letter. That's why you couldn't really say whether this one is Kal or a PL. Since the dagesh for the PL stem cannot be appearing in the resh. Good job. Very good. So today's lesson is all about the distinction between Kal and PL stem in terms of middle guttural letter. Okay, the idea is when we have a middle guttural letter and then that word is used in the PL stem, and what do we expect? Since the dagesh cannot come because of guttural or resh, we normally expect a compensation. So today, if you can see the compensation of middle guttural letter in the PL stem, that is different from the car, then we are done. So now, instead of looking at today's lesson, I want you to look at your verb chart. And, we will be able to get some idea. Okay, we will come back to the slides again, but I want you to look at the verb chart. And which part do you need to look at? In your verb chart? And which one? Which verb? We are dealing with middle guttural letter. So go to middle guttural. I think it must be appearing before hello Bob. Yeah, just before hello Bob. On page 439, middle guttural and middle resh. Okay, look at this. Let's start with a fixed form. This one must be taking the dagesh in the middle for PS stem. Okay. In this case, we can expect that the first vowel pointing should be compensated. So now you have zere, but it is not supposed to be zere. In the kal, for the strong verb, what do we expect for the strong verb? Not for the middle guttural.
카메츠.
No, that's a fix. That's kal stem, but PS stem, in case of a PS stem. You're right, kamet must be there for kal, a fixed form strong verb. But strong verb of PS stem, okay, think about this. The name has,
히레.
yes, the name always carries the sound. So PL should be
히레.
EL. Let's go back to then strong verb, and we need to look at PS stem. Where are you? A strong verb, PL here. Can you see? strong verb. This one is strong verb, and PL, it's appearing with EL and sometimes ER. So I told you, if you are dealing with a strong verb and then the affix form should carry, 3ms affix form normally should carry the sounds of the name. So now the most expected vowel pointing for the PL stem is EL. So we are expecting hirek. Are you following me? Okay, it's good. Let's go back to the middle guttural letter and PL form. So now we are expecting hirek here under the first root letter, but since the resh cannot take dageshi porte, so hirek is compensated to become sere. That's it. So we have one more dot. Now, when you are dealing with middle guttural letter, and this is something that you need to remember. What about then prefix form? Here, you cannot perhaps easily recognize the unique vowel pointing here. Can anybody distinguish the difference between prefix form, we're talking about PL, okay? Everything is PL today, but the difference between strong verb and middle guttural verb. What is the difference? Can you recognize looking at your verb chart? Just do it by yourself and let me know. You need to go to strong verb chart and look at prefix form of PL stem and then compare it with this first middle guttural letter, PL prefix form.
The
Ta is
PL
left into
strong verb,
comments.
Yes,
the
somebody
comments
said,
to pata.
But Ta
right.
is left into the comments.
Yes, you got it. So normally what do you expect? The compensation should be taking place just before the middle component, the middle letter. So since this slash is expected to take the dagesh, so dagesh cannot come, then there must be compensation on the preceding vowel point. So as you can see, this one is kamet, then it should be a form of compensate, which is already compensated. So kamet is something before. So you recognize that actually the most expected vowel pointing for the strong verb PL under the first root letter is pata, but now we have a kamet. So now, this is quite unique. And this is the time for us to pay attention to the vowel points. But previously, we didn't pay attention to the vowel points, especially under the first root letter. We occasionally paid attention to the vowel point under the prefix pronoun. But now, you need to remember, we are expecting pata under the first root letter of the prefix form in the strong verbs. Okay, are you following me? But there must be compensation for the middle guttural letter. Then my question is, what about then the first root letter? First vowel point. No, I am supposed to say the vowel point under the first root letter for strong verb kal. Kal, not PL. We know that in the PL stem must be pata, and then pata becomes kamet for middle guttural letter. But what about the strong verb and kal stem? Then let's go to the first page. Look at this. Strong verb, kal A, and most of the time, the vowel point under the first root letter in the kal stem is shua. 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 Are you following me? Okay. So pata under the first root letter. I'm not talking about the pata under the prefix pronoun, because pata under the prefix pronoun is the indicator of Hebrew stem. Don't be confused. Okay? Are you following me? We studied that in case of Hebrew prefix form, the indicator, the most important indicator should be pata under the prefix pronouns such as yod, tap, aleph, yod, tap, nun. But now, pata under the first root letter, I'm saying under the first root letter is the indicator of PL prefix form. Okay? So don't be confused here. Why is it special? Because normally we expect shua under the first root letter for the prefix form in the kal. That's why having pata under the first root letter is quite special. That's why it is PL stem. So now you need to see two things here. Okay, what is the difference between we are dealing with the prefix form, of course. Everything is prefix. But if you have to compare kal stem with PL stem, of course, you will be able to recognize the most obvious difference between them. What is it? Dagesh in the middle. In case of PL, it will always carry dagesh porte in the middle. But you need to understand the secondary difference. What is it? The vowel point under the first root letter. What is it? In case of kal, normally it is shua under the first root letter. Normally, okay? And then in the PL stem should be pata. So now you see the difference between kal stem and PL stem. Now let's come to the PL stem. So everything is PL, okay? And then we are comparing strong verb with middle guttural, because middle guttural is a problematic one in the PL stem because it cannot take dagesh porte. Then you need to remember, okay, I know all the strong verbs for PL stem, for prefix, affix, imperative, participle, and all those things. Then you need to expect compensation if you are dealing with a middle guttural letter. Okay, so then let's go back to the middle guttural verb chart again. Okay, so now middle guttural PL. So you know that this tere under the first root letter is already special because we are expecting hirek for the strong verb. And then here, the preceding vowel point before the second component is kamet. So it is compensated again, lengthened. So the most expected vowel point is pata, but now it's kamet. So it's compensated. And let's move on to imperative form. Now, even though we cannot take a look at the strong verb PL for imperative, then you can think, oh, there must be compensation here. Are you following me? So now, actually, it is supposed to be taking dagesh porte here, but it cannot take it because this is the PL stem. So what do you expect? Compensation in the preceding vowel point. So now kamet should be compensated. So now if you look at your verb chart again, then PL stem, then what can you see for the imperative form? Actually, this one is carrying pata and dagesh here. On page 433, I don't want to go back to that part. But if you look at the verb chart, strong verb, PL, imperative, then it comes with pata. So it's not kamet, it's pata. And then dagesh is here. So since dagesh cannot come here, pata is lengthened to kamet. So you need to remember those things, okay? What about participle form? In case of a participle form, actually, there must be compensation here as well,
because this one cannot take dagesh, and then we have what? Kamets again. Then what do you expect for the strong verb here? It's pata. It is supposed to be pata, but it becomes kamets here again. It's compensated. So you need to see the preceding vowel points just before the second root letter, which is either resh or a middle guttural. Guttural letter. Then there must be compensation. If you see the compensation, then that must be PR stem. PR stem. And then what is it? Infinitive construct. Can you say something? It's the same always, not always, most of the time. So if you have the possibility of imperative, second masculine singular, then don't ignore the possibility of infinitive construct. So you need to always double check. So in this case, you need to include two possibilities because they are identical. Is that clear? Is that clear? All right, look at this form. This one is prefix form actually, but the prefix form attached to a verb conversive. Then what do you see? You have resh and then comets. The preceding vowel point is comets, and what do you expect? This one is PL. So in the strong verb of the PL, then the expected vowel pointing under the bed should be pata. So it becomes comets here. So now, if we are dealing with PS10 in relation to the middle guttural letter, what is the most important thing to remember? You need to see if there is a lengthening and compensation just before the middle guttural letter or resh. So if you see any lengthening in comparison with strong verb PL, strong verb PL, I'm not saying strong verb kal, but strong verb PL, then this one must be PL stem. Is that clear? Okay. But one more time, in case of strong PL, strong verb PL, it's not a big concern. Why? Because we can have dagesh forte in the middle, right? In that case, it's not a big problem. But the problem is middle guttural letter. Middle guttural letters, middle guttural verbs will not take dagesh forte. Then how are you going to see the difference between kal and pl? That's why you need to pay attention to the vowel point, preceding vowel point before middle guttural letter. If you are dealing with a strong verb, it's not a big concern. You don't even need to take a look at it. The dagesh, the presence of the dagesh forte itself is just good enough to help you to identify as a PL stem. But the reason why we need to be familiar with what kind of a vowel point can be coming on before middle guttural letter is important. Why? Because of this middle guttural letter PL form. So without understanding or memorizing, what kind of vowel pointings are expected to come before the middle guttural letter, we cannot recognize whether this one is PL or ka in case of the verbs that are middle guttural verbs. Are you following me? So now, normally, there is a tendency. Now, hirek became tsere as a compensation. Pata becomes kamet as a compensation. I think apart from it, I think that's all, right? In the middle guttural letters. Oh, then let's go back to today's lesson. Lesson 36. So today we are going to talk about different meaning of key, the PL form of middle guttural with compensation, middle guttural without compensation, And key may sometimes also be translated as but or surely when it introduces a clause that contrasts with a preceding statement. Okay, let's look at the chart. This is compensatory lengthening middle guttural prefix. So if we didn't take look at the strong verb PL, then we cannot recognize what is special here. Everything looks quite normal, isn't it? But now you must know why? Because comets under the first root letter, I want to say not first, but the preceding vowel points of the middle root letter is lengthened from pata to comet. So comets, comet, comets, comets, comet, comet, comets. So once again, if you have a verb which is middle guttural verb, then you need to be careful with the stem. Do not simply put car stem because you cannot see dagesh porte. Then what is the thing that you need to do? You need to see if there is a compensation in the preceding vowel point of the middle guttural letter. That's the key. Okay? All right. Let's move on. Shua under the prefix pronoun. However, in first CS, okay, middle P, oh, PL middle guttural. Shua under the prefix pronoun. However, in one CSG, a composite shua is used instead of shua because the guttural cannot take simple shua. Where are you? Let me go back. Now here, and this is the one thing that we need to recognize. Actually, shua is supposed to be there, but middle guttural cannot take shua. I mean, not middle. Guttural letter cannot take shua. So normally, it is replaced by composite shua, which is not a really a big thing, but just for information. In this verb, barak, the consonant resh in the second root position is functioning like a guttural in that reject the dagesh porte of the PL. So the result is compensatory lengthening of the preceding vowel. The pata under the first root letter becomes kamets. And this compensatory lengthened vowel is called traveling dagesh. Okay, this is the name, traveling dagesh, but it's not really important. It will not appear in your final exam. Just to remember what you expect. Okay, lengthening. Let's go. So the verb barak appears almost always in the PS stem. So yeah, like dabar, there are some vocabularies that are appearing in a certain types of stems, like dabar is always appearing in the stem of PL. And what else? Anything that you remember for hifil? Hifil? I think it's Java. Java likes to be appearing in the form of hifil too. I mean PL. PL. And then what else? Any word that you remember for the hifil? Perhaps the vocabulary, the words that you memorize with H without Q. So those words are normally coming in the form of hifil. So there are certain, groups of vocabularies that want to be appearing in a certain types of stems. So anyway, your vocabulary will also help you to recognize the stem. So in case of barak, it likes to be appearing in the stem of PL, okay? But what is really important is the preceding vowel point of the middle guttural letter. So now, but not all middle gutturals demand compensation. This is a bit complicated. Okay, we need to expect compensation if we are dealing with the PS stem. Then, are you sure that there are some cases where this idea of compensation will not work? What is it? This one, ni hai. Look at this. Actually, the bed is the strong verb pattern, and then barak is appearing actually as an example of middle guttural letter. So this one is all about strong verb. So dealing with the strong verb PS stem, we are expecting dagish, 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 dagish. So we don't have any problem recognizing it as a PS stem. And here, but the thing is, we need to be familiar with the preceding vowel point, which is hirek, pata, pata, and pata. Why? For the middle guttural letter. So if you don't know which is expected to come for the strong verb PL, then you cannot recognize whether this is PL or CAR. So now hirek is compensated to tsere one more time because resh cannot take the dagesh. So now this one is PL, and this one is PL, this one is PL, this one is PL. Prefix form, imperative form, and participle form. So as you can see, kamets, 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 and tsere. And then tsere. But look at this. This one is nihek, but this one, in case of this, it is following the pattern, the vowel pattern of PL, like EL, EL, but without dagesh. Sometimes it appears that way. Although we don't have dagesh forte, this one should be considered as a PS stem. So the word nahak in the car stem means to drive, conduct, and then to drive away and lead up in the PS stem. But unfortunately, we cannot see the difference between car and the PS stem. Although the middle root letter should take the dagesh in case of the PL. But I do believe this is not really common. Okay, so do not simply think, oh, this is really confusing. No, just be flexible and then stick to the most what is a common sense in terms of the lesson. So today I want to really highlight that if you are dealing with a middle guttural verb, then be careful with the stem again. Then what do you need to do? You need to see if there is a compensation before the middle root letter, and that's it. If you can see a compensation, then it should be what? PL stem. That's it. So we are done with this. So tzaddik means just or righteous. So let's read this one. This word tzaddik is an adjective, but is used in this sentence as a noun. So righteous one would be an acceptable translation in today's sentence. Just as an example, you can just remember this. All right. Oh, sometimes adjective form can be used as a noun. Righteous one. The relationship between Adonai and tzaddik. In this context, Adonai is used as a vocative. So, what is your translation for tzaddik Adonai? It should be translated as the righteous one or Lord. I know it could be a little bit tricky, but you will know how to see those things from the context. But talking about your assignment or translation quiz, it's not a big deal because even if you are going to put it as adjective, we will take it as a right answer. Okay, but it is all about having smoother translation. So what is the translation today? Key, surely or for, but ata together with the prefix pronoun. So now ata indicates 2MSG. So although you put the two possibilities, 3FSG and 2MSG, at the end you know that, oh, this top must indicate 2MSG because of ata. So how are you going to double the subject? Then you need to put the emphasis, saying surely. So the word surely is not coming from key, but sometimes key itself can be translated as surely or for or but. But here I prefer to have because or for, especially for the word key. Okay, so then let's move on. For you surely will bless the righteous one, O Lord. And NIV puts, for surely, O Lord, you bless the righteous. And ASU, for it is you who bless the righteous man, O Lord. If you can come up with any other possibility of translation, you can always argue, because there is no such thing that, we need to translate it this way all the time. This is the most preferred translation uh, for the scholars, because they understand a lot of things. But I don't want to say it must be done that way all the time, because Hebrew languages are quite flexible. If we think there is other possibility after learning all those in the grammatical aspect, then you can write a good exegetical paper. That's why I want to encourage you to be Hebrew scholars. Okay. But anyway, for today's sentence, you can just put it as a noun here, and the vocative Adonai, O Lord. TLB, for you bless the godly man, O Lord. Okay, this is another thing, and then this is a new lesson. Okay, PS third head verb. PS third head verb. Why is it special? Why is it important for us to deal with third head? Okay, we are talking about strong PS stem and then middle guttural PS stem. Now we are dealing with third head PS stem. Why is it important? When the middle root letter is the last letter of the word, the dagesh will not show, will not appear. One more time. When the middle root letter is the last letter of the word, the dagesh will not appear. When can those things happen? The hint is third hair. Sometimes the third hair will be dropped off because it is not strong sound. And then when the hair is disappearing, the second root letter becomes the last word of the word. Then it will happen. When the middle root letter is the last letter of the word, then you cannot see dagesh forte. Then example, PL prefix form. Actually, the PL prefix form with a verb conversive must be ve, za, ve. So in this case, everything is there. So we don't really worry about it. Why? Because middle guttural letter, dagesh forte is appearing in the middle root letter. So we have prefix pronoun and then all the root letters. So we can easily recognize it. It's a tsava, and then PS stem and prefix form, 3MSG. What it happened when it comes with the verb conversive, and the verb conversive affects the vowel system, and then the third head will be missing. In that case, the verb should be carrying dagesh forte when this one is the PS stem. Am I right? But when the verb is appearing as the last component, then the verb cannot come, together with dagesh forte. So then the dagesh will disappear. In this case, then we will not have the great diagnostic of PS stem. So then you need to understand, okay, this is another possibility. If you are dealing with a verb attached to verb conversive, and then you think this is a third head verb, then you are going to be careful with the stem again. Okay. Well, unfortunately, we cannot see the compensation here as well. So this is another case of peer. But one more time, these are all about kind of a very exceptional cases. So you need to start from, the common lesson. And then this is what you are going to deal with most of the time. Okay, we have a lot. But Elabaya, what are the assignments?
Page 176, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay,
So you
I guess it's already on the Moodle.
Yes.
All right, so you can always double check it.
Yeah.
So it's a Friday. If you don't have any question, I will let you go 5 minutes earlier. It's a miracle. Pastor Jun always wants to take 5 minutes more from you, but today I want to let you go 5 minutes earlier. Do you have any question? Don't be afraid to ask a question.
I have a question, sir.
Okay, Sharon, what is it?
The Jadibu Adonai, can we translation just writers the Lord, right?
Righteous God? Righteous
Yeah.
God?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say you're wrong. Yeah, there is a possibility.
Yeah.
But
and
if you want to really say that should be righteous one, then you need to present a lot of good arguments, depending on the context. But then you need to answer the question, okay? Surely, because you will bless, then you need the DDO, objective. Bless what? Then you're going to say, okay, surely you will bless righteous God. Then I don't think that the context will help you to argue for that. Because if you read Psalm 5:13, then you said that, oh, the psalmist is referring to, the story that this is God acting, blessing, and then the righteous people. So in this case, it's quite obvious, from the context. But talking about the grammatical aspect, just focusing on this given sentence, you can say that. But if you read it from the context, then I think it's going to be hard for you to say you will refer to someone blessing God. Okay. All right. Thank you for the question, but I like your question. Okay. This is.
I have one more question, sir.
Okay.
How to different function of PL and CAR?
Okay. The difference between CAR and PL stems, and I think we have dealt with this before when we first talk about PL. I want to say, generally speaking, the stems have their own unique nuance. Like Hifil has causative meaning, and then PL normally has the intensified meaning of the CAR verb. So, like in the CAR stem, like breaking becomes smashing something into powder or small pieces. So you can see that the idea, the meaning is still there, but the level of the meaning is intensified, normally in the PL stem. But you cannot say it should be working all the time, because in the even PL stem or in the even Hifil stem, the word may not be appearing as if they are really carrying the nuance of PL and Hifil. Sometimes you may find it as if you have car meaning. Okay, but generally speaking, in a PL stem has intensified meaning.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Yeah. Anyone else? All right, that's it.
Sir, I need to stay behind.
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you. Have a great weekend. I'm gonna see you on Tuesday. I'm gonna see you smiling for your translation quiz. All right, God bless you.
Thank you, sir. God bless.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank Thank you, Professor.
Okay.
Uh,
Let-
one question, please.
Yeah.